before we talked first about how this came to fruition, and I would really love for Heather to start, and then I can come in with
Yeah.
how I got included.
Bells,
Excellent.
but
Well, so I'm an NIA instructor. My background is rehabilitation counseling and body work. So my whole, just a little bit about me, I've really learned to use movement for healing, and I've been fascinated by any kind of movement. From I was a body worker, dancing, tai chi, laughter as movement. So this is kind of my background, and I teach NIA, and Jessica came to one of the NIA classes, and we met. And just like, Jessica, she's so vivacious and open and sharing. And I just immediately was drawn to her. COVID kind of happened, and we, a little bit kept in touch through that, and then got back to ACAC, and we were just talking about some of her goals and my goals. And I've done some retreats in the past that have been more local, but I've always had this like, wow, doing an international retreat or a retreat somewhere further away. But I always said, I was like, okay, universe, make it easy for me. Like, I know what I could bring as far as movement and wellness for people and that kind of an experience. And Jessica then was, sharing what she has done and what she has such great experience. And we just started collaborating, and this came about. So is that a little bit what you were talking about, Jessica? Did I leave anything out that you want her to know about me?
No, I mean, because I think it'll come up anyway, because you have all the experience and the credentials to be leading a retreat that's centered around mind, body, spirit, movement, joy, etc. I kind of bring the cultural knowledge and definitely the joyful nature of what that means. And Julie knows she experienced me in many different types of contexts. Even last weekend we were the dancing queens at a party, and so but just in terms of like, when she probably, Julie, this too, when I took my first NIA class, and I was like, oh my God, this is such an amazing thing, and I was just so happy. And Heather was my first instructor, and I was just like, oh my goodness. Started this
you just really fell in love with it.
Yes. And so again, going from that to this place of collaborating and hoping to bring a group together that can experience the best of all worlds. Like, for me, I see myself as someone definitively who looks at travel not just as going to a destination and checking it off my list. It's the intentionality of being in that space, just like being in the body, also being, in a travel capacity, being there, really taking some time to just take it in. And so I always I liken that to the slow food movement. It's like the slow travel movement. Even if we get there fast on a plane, or and so just that combination of things, like having not only that experience and share it with others, but then incorporating the movement and everything that makes NIA special, Tai Chi fit, all of these things, that it's a combination. So that's really kind of like the best of all worlds in creating this retreat.
Right. And I'll just also share, we came up with sensational journeys as part of this as well, that NIA really is about getting into the body. So this experience, this excursion will be about our how do we, not just our five senses, but how do we connect with our body to experience life. And and we'll have experiences in the studio with classes, but then how do we take this out into living with more pleasure, living with more ease, more joy, those kind of things. And so I've always also wanted to share some of these deeper learnings that I don't always get to share in classes with people. So, like being able to have a little bit more time and allowing them to really immerse themselves in some of these tools that I've gotten from some of my NIA trainings, Tai Chi Fit, but that are deeper than
Yeah.
just a class. So,
Wonderful.
sensational journeys, sensing your body, moving
Say,
your body,
yeah.
eating amazing food, seeing beautiful
Mhm.
sights.
Mhm. It
Yeah.
sounds like a perfect marriage, honestly, really. Which, really, it's just wonderful what you guys have come up with. It's so cool. I've
Thank
actually
you.
heard
Thank
her.
you.
I mean, I've heard of course, yoga retreats, obviously all over the world, but I haven't heard of. They must have them, right? NIA retreats, but it's really a cool. But more when I hear of yoga retreats, it's not yoga and travel. It's usually you go to a place, but you're not really traveling, and you're not immersing yourself in the culture. It's like you go to a place, and then maybe afterward you stay.
Right.
You know what I mean? But usually
Yeah.
you're going to one little retreat center and just staying there, and you're not really in the culture and in the, so that's really a cool idea.
Well, and thank you. I mean, you are seeing this kind of uniqueness that, we say everybody's unique. Everybody does it a little bit differently. So this is our way.
For
Um,
sure.
I will share if you want. I put together a little video kind of slideshow, and then Jessica can share a little bit more. Hopefully, I can share
And just
my.
so you know, I did figure out how to see both of you. I just swiped right and it went from, so if I swipe left, it's just you.
Is swiping right also, is that what people do on Tinder?
Right. Yeah. Well,
That's so interesting.
you're right. There's three little dots at the bottom. And so now I'm on the furthest. Is that what you were talking about before?
Yeah, ours looks different because ours is at the top right. That's fine.
Okay.
Perfect.
So I just swiped and then I'm in the third dot, which has both of you. So anyway.
And then, Julie, I did want to just take a moment to ask you if you would mind, because there are people that are interested in this recording tonight. Would you mind if I send them this recording that has you in it?
No, I don't mind.
Okay. All right. I just want to get your permission there for that.
Sure.
So I will share my screen. And all of the not things that you really want to see. So that's just a little
Really,
of what we're imagining.
yeah.
Yeah. So let me get out of this here. I'm still learning my technology with Zoom and doing these slideshows. Is that still up or did I stop
No,
the
I
share?
see.
Here, you're back.
Okay, good.
Yes. And so like I've put together something with more of the details of
Okay.
what would be happening, kind of on a little bit about where we'd be staying, the dates, the prices, etc. One thing that I wanted to mention before that, when we were just talking about like the movement and being engaged in culture, one of the cool things that hopefully will come to fruition is that the studio space that we'll have is large, and
Mhm.
there is a very good possibility that we could have Nia and other Nia people from Graz, from Austria,
Oh,
like to join us for
yeah,
those sessions, like for this session, which is also like a cultural,
yeah, sure. Be
and
great.
like to get to people know what the dance studio that that I am in contact with. When I mentioned that simply in the initial, my initial email to them, they were like, "Oh my goodness, that would be amazing. We'd love to be a part of that." So that's also another thing that hopefully will come to fruition.
Yeah, that's super
Yeah,
cool.
which I think would be really cool too, so that they can experience Heather and we can
Yeah,
experience them at the same time as doing
yeah.
something productive. Yes. So anyhow, Heather, I'll go ahead and I'll go to my screen.
Sure.
Oh wait, let me see. I have to first share my screen. That would be important. There you go. Voila.
Yeah.
Um, so here we are. This is again, oops, sorry, too fast. Sensational Journey 1, September 30th, which is a Friday, through October 8th, which is a Saturday. And
Okay.
so a little bit more on where the different rooming options, because all of them, they're different price categories, and I'm going to go into a little bit why there are. So this is the Fantastic Room. Okay,
Yeah.
so the Fantastic Room is the standard, not the standard. It's a double.
Yeah.
Which is normally a double, and it's in, of course, Iola Living Hotel in Graz, and that is it's a boutique hotel.
Okay.
We saw a little
Where,
bit of,
where is Graz? Where's Graz?
so Graz is, if you look at Austria, hold on,
Uh-huh.
stop sharing my screen for a second, or you can still see me, or I can do this,
Yeah. I can
just so
see you.
that you know. So if you're looking at Austria,
Yep.
oh my goodness, I don't know how you see it. So Vienna is very far east,
Bottom. Oh,
east,
east. Okay.
and Graz is south of Vienna, and it's close to, it's not too far from the Slovenian border.
Okay.
You're going, it's in the southeastern to south central portion of Austria, and
Okay. I
it's
pulled
not.
up my own map and I see it.
Okay, there you go. So it's
Yeah.
so there are also possibilities of, for example, if people are like, okay, I'm going to take advantage of this, and I'm going to buy a plane ticket to Vienna
Yeah.
and spend some days in Vienna or whatever, and then come down to Graz. It's an easy train ride to
Yeah.
to the city, or vice versa, adding that on at the end. I'd also be really very happy to help anyone do that.
Okay.
In terms of like, what are their actual travel desires and needs, that's all part of my, um I call myself like concierge, cultural
Yeah.
cultural liaison concierge, and
Sure.
like that I work individually with participants and what they want. So
Yeah.
so again, this is a boutique hotel in Graz, and so every room is different. The
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic Room is the double room that would either be for single or double occupancy,
Mm-hmm.
for non-couple doubles, right? If you go with a friend and you want to
Yeah.
share, a room, many of these rooms have beds that the bed can split into
Uh-huh.
two, twin beds, so you're
Yeah.
not, and otherwise, it can be together. So this is what the amenities are. They're they're really pretty. Let me see, I can go down a little bit. There's a couple of more pictures in terms of what they might look like. You can
Yeah.
see
Very pretty.
they're pretty, they're modern, but it's in an old building that's been renovated, and so it has kind of like the style of fun, funky boutique
Oh,
hotel, right?
yeah.
So that is those are the fantastic rooms.
I will also share, if I can add in here, from what I've looked at on the hotel, they're really big. They are big into design and art. They have their own shop too. So that's what they're catering to, of like design, and that's
Yeah.
a big part of
Yeah.
Graz too.
Mhm.
Okay.
Like the juxtaposition of modern and antique, or
Yeah.
things that, and just like
Right, right.
the
Yeah.
aesthetics are important, right? So
Yeah.
the other type of suite, we have 3 of these suites reserved, and these are for double occupancy. They're larger. So this one says, more of everything. This is the fabulous suite. So
Mhm.
basically has all of the amenities of the fantastic rooms, but it includes a fixed or freestanding, I love it, bath tube, which is actually a bathtub. They have a typo in English on their site, which I think is very sweet. But yeah, so you can see here that this is just like a freestanding bath tube.
Maybe it was like a monobob, or
Yeah,
what was it?
exactly, like the monobaba bath tube. I'm like, I think it's great.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so you can see that all of these are different too, but they're
Yeah.
larger suites with a king size bed, but they're
Uh-huh.
designed specifically for couples. Like
Okay.
there's only one bed that does not split.
Yeah.
So that's just a little, so you get a sense again of why this is where we'd be staying from Friday through to the following Saturday.
Okay.
And then, so I'm going to go through the price. These are the different
Mhm.
prices based on if you're an individual, single occupancy in a double room, which is the fantastic room. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to breakfast in a second. So breakfast is included, and it's not just like a roll and
Yeah.
water. Full buffet, very local, like like really like a lot of like farm to table type of things.
Mhm.
So movement and daily practice with Heather, which is a minimum of 2 hours,
Oh.
like like with, well, the weekend is a longer period of time, like more like a workshop, and Heather can speak more to that. Or Heather, do you want to
Okay.
talk about it now?
Yeah,
Or
we're planning right now probably 2 days at the beginning of more intensive, well, like study. So like
Mhm.
sharing some of these principles and then moving them in the space so that people have an embodied experience of them. And then we can kind of go out. People can also set their goals, their personal goals for the week, and that the movement will help support the goals that they have. So just starting the week out with a little bit more on that, the self
Mhm.
inquiry, the self, whatever the goals are for people, starting 2 days that have 4-hour days of that, and then each of the rest of the days are optional. And all of this, frankly, is optional. We want people to do as much of whatever as they choose.
Right.
So, if people want to go and have this great experience but don't want to do the movement, that's perfectly fine too. So we want to accommodate, lots of folks here.
Mhm.
But that's what is at least what I will be providing, is those 2 days of heavier, more, I'm going to say intensive, but I don't want anybody to be scared of that word, but just like
Right.
having time with
Yeah.
yourself, having time to explore movement and wellness principles. And then each day we'll have probably morning sessions. And then just depending on where we go, what people feel, I'm also open to a spontaneous, like 15-minute Tai Chi on the side of a mountain.
Right. Right. Very cool.
and and then with that as well, we have 2 like longer date excursions planned, and
Mhm.
definitely one of those is hiking in the Alps somewhere, doing
Okay.
in in a mountainous setting. That's one of the reasons why I chose Graz, because of its location to lots of green space. They're beautiful waterfalls as well. They're beautiful places to hike and to be
Nice.
outside in nature. So those are included. Also, transportation within Graz and any type of like entrance fees. If we do group activities and there's an entrance fee that also covers that.
Okay.
And that's for those, you know, for the time frame. I wanted to just, I hope, Julie, you might be hungry or you might not be, but I'll just show you this because so this is, again, it's, you know, it's just one little, they don't have a lot of, they only have one picture of their food, but you know, you actually see too that so between 6:30 and 10:30. And what I really like is that, you know, they take the best from the region and the season, and they try, you know, they really try to look at they get a lot of their, they source a lot of their sustenance, you know, throughout the day at their restaurant with local products. So
Okay.
I think that's really good too. So
Yeah.
just entice it a little bit. So let me go back again. Whoop, wrong thing. So again, $35.50 is if you're an individual in a double room. This is, like I said, you know, friends, if they're sharing a double room, the fantastic room with double occupancy, everything included, the price is $29.25 per person. And
Okay.
then with partners in the larger suites, it's $32.40 per person.
Okay.
Okay. Those are like in square meters. The larger suites are like 45 square meters, which is a lot. Like it's a, they're nicely sized rooms. So, I mean, all of them, even the smaller of the fantastic rooms are large in comparison, you know, like in terms of space for a double room. So,
Yeah.
so these are, again, the other considerations, just so that you know. So these are, again, we're running like early bird specials. If you know, someone is interested in actually registering soon, there's a $200 per person reduction in the cost if people register by March 15th, and $100 per person off if they're registering by the end of, through March 31st or March 16th until March 31st.
Okay.
There's a $1,000 registration fee, and then the remainder wouldn't be due until July 15th.
Okay.
So, you know, we're giving people time and, you know, to think about it. It's just, we are, you know, if someone is really excited and they say, I definitely want to go, we wanted to provide definitely
Yeah.
for those people. So this is kind of, this is the important stuff too. So on your own, what's not included is airfare, and then transportation to the hotel. And that is because depending on where people want to fly into and how they want to, you know, use their travel, if they're going to, you know, take advantage of being in Europe, hopefully,
Sure.
you know, post Putin,
Yeah.
said and done. But, you know, like in terms of if they're going to travel prior or after,
Sure.
makes a difference on whether how they're going to get, you know, to Graz themselves. Then lunch
Yeah.
and dinner on your own, and then personal expenses, of course, travel insurance, and then anything regarding health protocols. I do have a link here because I can share this with you too, that you'd have it. This is the site for up-to-date information on Corona. And so Austria now Austria itself has a mandatory COVID immunization requirement as of, you know, January, sometime in January, for all, you know, people that live there. And so, but they've also switched this for, like, you know, there's a pre-travel clearance and what that means. And, you know, basically how many days your booster, it's 100, it has to be good. It's only good for 180 days.
Oh.
Right. So they're like, you know, so they're really on, we do not, they're trying to, you know, keep get COVID gone.
Yeah.
So yeah. And, you know, again, I would be watching this closely and providing, you know, information and updates.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
So that's really all that
I was curious how, and you kind of touched on this, but I mean, obviously I know you've been to Vienna a million times all over Europe and Austria, but how did you decide on Graz? You mentioned the mountains and the beauty and all that, as opposed to Vienna. I was just curious, like what?
Again, so Graz is actually the second largest city in Austria, and so it also has that, that kind of like old world, new
Yeah.
world charm. It has any type of amenity that you could possibly have. It's a UNESCO
World
um,
Heritage
World
Site.
Heritage Site. It's the city of design
Yeah.
and what was it? Culinary delights. Heather, what was the third
Yeah,
one?
that's what they say. It is a UNESCO City of Design, and they call it the capital of delights in Austria. So,
Sounds perfect.
So
so like we want delight.
we want the
Yeah.
line. It's a sensational journey. But so I was really thinking because Julie, I've lived in Vienna for
Yeah.
for over
Yeah.
6 years. I've taken students every summer, etc. And all of that. I love Vienna, but in order to get out of Vienna, truly to get to like real kind of bigger mountains,
Yeah.
like a 3 hour
I
one-way
see. I
trip, right?
see.
And then thinking about, how can we have the best of all worlds and not, have closer access to the green?
Yeah.
Where I thought Graz was a really cool thing, and also that like that thing that looked kind of like an anemone, that's like a black squishy thing or whatever. That's an art museum. It's the coolest
Oh,
thing.
cool.
Yeah. So like there's tons of really cool, there are cool museums, there are tons of places, to go and to explore in the city. There's also lots of green space. Some of the Austrians believe in green spaces even in cities. So that's really, a wonderful thing about Austrian cities, maybe in comparison to other ones. In like the German speaking world, but then the proximity to both mountains. Oh, I didn't even talk about this. Another must do that we will be doing on our other excursion. Whatever we do before we get to this part is still
Yeah.
going to kind of look. It'll be dependent on who our group is, what their
Yeah.
interests are. I have tons of ideas, but that area is really famous for wine as well.
Uh-huh.
So of course you must go to the vineyards and
Right.
have the experience of sitting in a wine garden, which is a Heurige in German. In Austria it's called a Heurige, and there's food and you don't have to drink wine. You can drink water. You can drink,
Right. Right.
whatever. But just the whole experience of and it's kind of like, it's funny, like this, I'm going to minimize for a second. That last slide that I showed is actually what you'd be sitting in. Oh, let me share my screen again. I will do that.
Yeah.
So this is not in Graz, but this is basically what it would look like in a place like this. It would be around, right? And they're the Hardinger that go along with it. This is close to Vienna, but just in terms of the ability to also experience something like that is unique, and it's a must. One must
Yeah.
do that when in Austria. So yes. So does that answer?
Yeah, I was just curious,
Mhm.
sounds wonderful.
Absolutely. And
We think so.
Yeah.
so again, and also the time of year that we chose is like, post tourist season,
Yeah.
but not so cold that,
Right.
and it's
That can
kind
be
of
frozen.
like, it hopefully is in that perfect, like beautiful fall weather that you can do lots of things, and it's not freezing cold and it's not 100 degrees, which mostly doesn't happen in Austria, but with global warming it can get quite warm. So, or so again, hopefully it'll be a moderate temperature with sunshine.
Yeah, it sounds like a perfect time to go. Is it so when you imagine the week, I know the weekend, is going to be obviously that first weekend pretty busy with the more intensive, gatherings, trainings, and then, 2 excursions in the other 5 days. And so then there'll be 3 days that will have, a couple hours of class, but then it sounds like, is that just free time and people can organize as they like to do whatever, tour the city or just, do whatever they want on their own or with small groups or.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of like we wanted it. I mean, and Heather can also speak to this too. It's like, you know, half of the thing about exploration and sensation is what you make of it, right? So again, like having the free time to decide what you want to do, how much you want to do, how, you know, if you want to sit in a cafe for 3 hours and people
Yeah,
watch, do
that's
it, right? Like that's, or, and I see like my role as well as, you know, someone who will individually work with anyone even before the, you know, like before the experience, to say like, well, what would you want to do? Let me tell you, like, if you like this and this, I can provide you with information. Then you can see like you have already you know, things that you've thought about that you might want to explore either on your own or if someone else would want to do it. But they definitely are more, you know, open in terms of, if you want to do things. I mean, I could fill your day, I can fill anyone's
yeah,
day, but the whole point is probably a lot of people want to be like, oh, I just want to go explore, I want to go look at, I want to go buy
all
shoes.
around. Yeah,
Yeah, so
right. Yeah, it sounds like a really good balance. Yeah,
Yeah, and also on some of these days, I'll just share. I don't want to give too many things away because we are looking and have some ideas for some of these days too, of like what we might be able to offer if somebody didn't want to go out on their own. You know, like there are
yeah,
some other things that we are
yeah.
thinking about, and where I'm like, oh, they do yoga in this place. Maybe they
Right,
like a Tai Chi session here while I'm in town, you know? And so people
right,
can, um, there, it would be flexibility, not like there's just like, nobody's going to be there. What am I going to do? Like, we
right.
will be there and we are guides during this
Yeah,
time to
yeah,
share. But also, if people are like, no, we've had enough of you, Heather.
yeah. Right. I want to go shopping.
Yeah.
Whatever.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
so it really is hope, you know, like the whole idea is truly that people are given the time and space that they need to articulate what they want from this, and that we can be as flexible with a lot of the, you know, the planning, really, so that's individualized, as well as, you know, we have our group activities. So
Yeah. Sounds amazing. I love